Hi, and welcome back to Stop, Look, and Listen with Samantha. Today I have with me Daryl.
Hello.
And Daryl's going to talk about love language. Now, Daryl, what does love language mean to you?
Well, thank you so much for asking me that question. What I would say is, the way I like to think about it is this. When you go into a foreign country, right, you can even think of it one of two ways. You're either an ambassador or you're a tourist. Now, as an ambassador, it's more about the country that you represent and the agenda that is set before you, right? It doesn't necessarily have to do with the country, their needs first and foremost. It has to do with the country that you represent. But as a tourist, you put your own needs and your agenda on the shelf, because what you're there to do, you're there to vacation. You're there to learn about the culture. You're there to learn about preferences. You're learning about the food. You're learning about the history of the people. How did they become what they became? Perhaps they had to overcome obstacles themselves. But the point in the matter is, as a tourist, you're putting your needs aside, and now you're putting yourself and investing yourself into a people, a culture that when you come back, you are 10 times or 100 times better than when you first left your place of living, right? So I'd rather be a tourist, okay? So that's the approach that I usually take when I look at love language. What is it that I'm going to gain once I break down the divisive walls and I deal with people other than myself that are different?
That's a great way to put it. I never thought about it like that. And I think too, with COVID, this kind of took, our circles have gotten smaller, and we've been around the same type of people, and we aren't getting that exposure to see what's different. And sometimes now, even more so, we have this risk of groupthink where we're around like-minded individuals. And when we see something strange, it might be more pointing us towards judgment, where instead we could be asking questions and learning the differences and appreciating the differences. And Daryl, what are some ways that you've learned to love others and also to love yourself?
Another great question. Well, what I do is I really try to look at myself as how God looks at me, okay? And I also look at others as God looks at them. We have to all know that we are God's creation. We were all created unique. There's a lot of diversification when it comes to the human race, and we learn to appreciate each and every one of our differences, just like how God uniquely created us. And he looks back and he says, man, that is good. The guy that I created, the woman that I created, the person that I've created, they are perfect in my sight. So instead of using our lens to look at ourselves or one another with our own set of eyes, we need to put on the lens of God. And when we put on the lens of God, we see perfection in the making. That's how I look at it.
That's beautiful. And to be able to pull people in that are different from you and even ask them for help and include them and see their strengths, and that really helps make them shine and make them feel good about themselves. And part of what I'm trying to do here on the channel is to open people's eyes to those different perspectives, to see things through someone else that had experiences different than them, to be able to maybe understand a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I definitely appreciate everything that you're doing on your platform. I'm so happy to be on here, on this platform, continuing this journey. And so everyone, please continue to just look at yourself as God looks at you. He loves you. He loves myself. He loves Samantha. And everyone, when you look at each other, when you deal with each other, when you communicate with each other, it should be a lot easier when you put on those godly sunglasses. You're looking at perfection. So perfection breeds perfection. And so I thank you so much, Samantha, for allowing me to talk about something that I'm very passionate about.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.